Every test you fail in public was already failed in private. When someone challenges you, provokes you, or tries to destabilize your composure, they're running an experiment. They want to see what you're made of. And in that moment, most people hand over the answer immediately. They react. They defend. Te y escalate. They reveal exactly how easy it is to get under their skin. But a small 1% responds differently. They recognize the test for what it is. They refuse to participate, and their non-reaction communicates something so powerful that the tester never tries again. Today, I'm showing you 7 things you should never do when someone tests you. These are the mistakes that destroy your power instantly. The reactions that make you look weak, even when you think you're being strong. The behaviors that guarantee you'll be tested again and again. One of these mistakes seems like the right response. It feels justified. It looks strong. But psychologically, it's the worst thing you can possibly do. It hands your power to the tester on a silver platter. Stay until the end to make sure you're not making it constantly. The Stoics were tested daily. Marcus Aurelius faced betrayal from people he trusted. Epictetus was tested by his master as a slave. Seneca was tested by Nero himself. They survived not by fighting every test, but by understanding what tests actually are. Invitations to lose yourself. In plain terms, the test isn't the problem. Your response is, get the response right, and tests become opportunities. Get it wrong, and you become someone people test for entertainment. Let's begin. Mistake 1. Never explain yourself immediately. When someone tests you with an accusation, a challenge, or a provocation, your first instinct is to explain, to defend, to clarify your position. This feels natural. It feels necessary. It's actually surrender. The moment you start explaining, you accept the frame they set. You treat their test as a legitimate question deserving a legitimate answer. You position yourself as the defendant and them as the judge. That power dynamic is exactly what they wanted. Explanation signals that their opinion matters enough to warrant your time. It signals that their accusation landed close enough to require defense. It signals that you're reactive, not intentional. The Stoic response is different. When someone tests you with a challenge, pause. Don't explain. Either respond with a question that redirects, or respond with silence that confuses. But never immediately justify yourself to someone who's fishing for reactions. Epictetus taught that no one can compel you to think anything. Explanation is compelled. Thinking made verbal. They pushed a button! You performed. That's not strength. That's programming. When tested, the first thing most people do is explain. The first thing you should do is nothing. Let the silence evaluate whether any response is even necessary. Mistake 2. Never raise your voice. Volume feels like power. It's not. Volume is the sound of control slipping away. The moment your voice rises, you've already lost the test. Raising your voice is a physiological response to feeling unheard or threatened. It's your body trying to compensate for a perceived loss of control. The tester knows this. They're watching for exactly this signal. When you get loud, you confirm that their test landed, that they destabilized you, that you're now operating from emotion, not intention. The most powerful people in any room are usually the quietest, not because they have nothing to say, because they don't need volume to be heard. Their presence does the work. Their calmness does the work. Marcus Aurelius led armies without shouting. He understood that true authority doesn't need amplification. It needs precision. It needs weight. And weight comes from control, not volume. When someone tests you, lower your voice instead of raising it. Speak slower instead of faster. Take up more silence instead of more sound. This communicates something terrifying to the tester. You're not rattled. You're analyzing, and that's far more intimidating than any shout. The loud person is reactive. The quiet person is dangerous. Be dangerous. Mistake 3. Never attack back immediately. When someone tests you aggressively, the temptation is to match their energy, to fire back, to show them you're not someone to mess with. This feels like strength. It's actually predictability. The tester expects retaliation. They are prepared for it. They may have even set a trap that your counterattack walks straight into. By attacking back immediately, you're doing exactly what they anticipated. You're playing their game on their terms. The Stoic response is unpredictability through non-escalation. You absorb the attack. You pause. You don't return fire. This creates confusion. They expected war. They got nothing, and nothing is impossible to fight against. There's a strategic principle here. The person who controls the pace controls the outcome. When you attack back immediately, you're reacting to their pace. When you pause and decline to escalate, you reset the pace to yours. Seneca wrote that anger is a wind that blows out the lamp of the mind. Immediate retaliation is anger disguised as justice. It feels righteous, but accomplishes nothing except proving you can be provoked. Don't match their energy. Drain it. By refusing to engage, you force them to carry all the aggression themselves. That weight exhausts them while you remain light and unmoved. Mistake for never seek witnesses for validation. When someone tests you publicly, there's an urge to look around, to check if others saw it, to seek validation from the audience that you're right and they're wrong. This is a critical mistake. The moment you look for witnesses, you shift the battle from internal to external. You're no longer focused on remaining composed. You're now focused on how others perceive the conflict. That split focus weakens you, and the tester sees it. Looking for audience support signals insecurity. It says, I'm not sure I can handle this alone. I need backup. I need people to agree with me. This is the opposite of Stoic self-sufficiency. The Stoics taught that external validation is a trap. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself regularly that the opinion of the crowd is worthless. If it's worthless in general, it's especially worthless in the heat of being tested. When tested publicly, keep your eyes on the tester or straight ahead. Never scan for allies. Never look for agreement. Fight your battle as if no one else exists, because in the psychological dimension, where the real test takes place, no one else does exist. It's just you and your composure. Win alone. Your power shouldn't depend on witnesses agreeing that you're powerful. It should be evident regardless of who's watching. Quick, pause. Here, if you're realizing how many tests you've failed without even knowing they were tests, subscribe to the Stoic Rise. You'll learn to see the game before others even know it's being played. Now let's continue, because mistake 5 is the one that looks like strength, but actually guarantees you'll be tested again. Most people make this mistake thinking it makes them look tough. It does the opposite. Mistake 5. Never threaten consequences you won't enforce. When tested, many people escalate to threats. If you do that again, you don't want to see what happens when you're going to regret. These threats feel powerful in the moment. They're actually devastating to your credibility. Why? The tester is now watching to see if you follow through. If you don't, you've just taught them that your words mean nothing. That you escalate verbally but not in action. That you're safe to test again because the consequences are empty. Never threaten what you can't or won't do. This is fundamental Stoic integrity. Your words must match your actions. If they don't, you become someone people learn to ignore. The alternative is simple. Don't threaten, act or don't. If you're going to enforce a consequence, enforce it without announcement. If you're not going to enforce it, don't mention it. Silence preserves options. Threats destroy them. Epictetus taught that we should say nothing that we don't intend to fully mean. Empty threats violate this principle. They're words designed to intimidate without the substance to support them. And eventually, everyone learns which people mean what they say and which people are performing. Be someone who acts without warning. That's infinitely more powerful than someone who warns without acting. Mistake 6. Never reveal that the test affected you later. Some people maintain composure during the test but collapse afterward. They pass the moment but fail the aftermath. They mention it repeatedly. They bring it up in other conversations. They let people know how much it bothered them. This is a delayed failure, because if the tester hears through the grapevine that you were affected, they've won. Your composure in the moment was just performance. Underneath, you were hurt. And now everyone knows. True Stoic detachment extends beyond the moment. It's not a mask you wear for the public. It's an identity you embody completely. What didn't break you in the moment shouldn't be discussed later as if it almost did. Seneca wrote that we suffer more in imagination than in reality. When you talk about the test afterward, you're extending the suffering through imagination. You're replaying it. You're giving it continued life when it should be dead. Process privately if you must, but publicly, act as if the test was so insignificant that it doesn't warrant mention. Don't seek sympathy about it. Don't update people on how you're dealing with it. Just move on completely. The tester's power dies when the test is forgotten. Don't resurrect it by continuing to reference it. True victory is when the test becomes invisible. Not just survived, but absorbed without trace. Mistake 7. Never change your behavior to avoid future tests. This is the deepest failure. When someone tests you and you respond by shrinking, avoiding, or modifying yourself to prevent future testing, they've won permanently. Some people get tested and decide to be less visible, less vocal, less themselves. They interpret the test as a sign to reduce their presence. This is exactly what the tester wanted. Not just a reaction in the moment, but a permanent dimming of who you are. The Stoic response is the opposite. You maintain your path unchanged. You continue exactly as you were. You refuse to let the test modify your trajectory by even 1 degree. This communicates something essential. Testing me is pointless. I don't adjust for external pressure. I remain who I am regardless of who challenges me. That consistency is deeply intimidating, because it shows there's no button to push, no lever to pull, no way in. Marcus Aurelius continued his meditation practice, his journaling, his leadership approach, regardless of who opposed him. He understood that changing course because of tests is a form of being controlled by the tester. Stay on your path. Let them test. Let them fail. Let them watch you continue unchanged. That's when they stop testing, not because you fought back, because you proved that testing is useless. So what should you do when tested? Here's the Stoic framework in 4 steps. Step 1. Recognize the test immediately. Most people fail because they don't even realize they're being tested. They take the bait unconsciously. Train yourself to notice when someone is probing for reactions. Step 2. Create space. Don't respond immediately. Take a breath. Let a few seconds pass. This space is where your power lives. The immediate reaction is never the right one. Step 3. Choose your response intentionally. You have options. Silence, a question that redirects, a calm statement that reframes, or simply continuing what you are doing as if nothing happened. Choose deliberately. Step 4. Release it completely. Don't replay. Don't discuss. Don't let the test live beyond the moment. It happened. You handled it. Ites over. Epictetus taught that between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space lies our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and freedom. The tester tries to eliminate that space. The Stoic expands it. Tests will never stop coming, but your response can become so consistent, so unmoved, so boring to the tester that they eventually seek easier targets. Now here's the rule that makes everything work. Tests are never about the content. They're about the reaction. The words someone uses to test you don't matter. The accusation, the challenge, the provocation, those are just delivery mechanisms. What they're really doing is probing your emotional structure, looking for cracks, checking how stable your foundation is. When you react emotionally, you reveal cracks. When you remain unmoved, you reveal a fortress. And people don't keep testing fortresses. They test houses they think might collapse. Marcus Aurelius wrote that the best revenge is to be unlike your enemy. When someone tests you with chaos, respond with order. When they test you with aggression, respond with calm. When they test you with urgency, respond with patience. Your non-reaction isn't passive. It's a statement. It says, I understand what you're doing. I'm not playing, and I'm still standing exactly where I was before you tried. That's Stoic power. Not fighting the test, rendering it irrelevant through unmoved presence. If you want to develop this unshakable presence, subscribe to the Stoic Rise. Every video will train you to see tests clearly, respond strategically, and become the kind of person who is simply not worth testing. Now I want to hear from you. What's the most recent test you faced? Did you pass or fail by the standards we discussed? And which mistake from this list have you been making without realizing it? Drop it in the comments. Sometimes naming the failure is the first step toward never repeating it. I'll see you in the next one.